This is for your future. Take it.
No, we can't accept this. It's too much.
The day my mother sold me, the sun did not shine. Dark clouds hung low over the village, and the air felt heavy, as if the sky itself was holding its breath. I was only 7 years old, too young to understand money, too young to understand fear, and too innocent to know that love can sometimes look like betrayal. I remember holding my mother's wrapper tightly as we stood in front of our mud house. My fingers dug into the faded cloth because I was afraid. A strange man stood nearby. He was tall, wore clean clothes, and smelled like soap and the city. He did not look at me the way adults usually look at children. His eyes were sharp, serious, and cold. My mother avoided my eyes. "Stand there," she told me quietly, pointing to a spot near the mango tree. Her voice sounded strange, like it was breaking inside her chest. I obeyed. Children always obey their mothers. The village was unusually quiet that morning. Women peeped from behind their doors. Old men pretended to fix their sandals. Everyone knew something bad was about to happen, but no one spoke. The strange man brought out a small leather bag and handed it to my mother. I heard the sound of coins and notes inside it. The sound was loud in my ears, louder than the cry of birds, louder than my own heartbeat. My chest tightened. Why was he giving my mother money? My mother took the bag with shaking hands. She did not count it. She did not smile. She only nodded slowly, like someone agreeing to a painful punishment. Then she turned to me. "Come," she said. I ran to her, relief washing over me. I thought we were living together. But she pushed me gently toward the man. My legs froze. "Mama," I whispered. She did not answer. The man stretched out his hand. "It's time," he said. I began to cry. I screamed and held onto my mother's legs. "Mama, please. Don't let me go." That was when the village finally came alive. "She has sold her child," someone whispered. "Heartless woman. How can a mother do this?" The words cut through the air like knives. My mother's body shook as I clung to her. I could feel her tears falling onto my hair, hot and silent. But she still pulled my fingers away. Her hands trembled so badly that I thought she would collapse. "Go," she said, her voice barely louder than the wind. I looked up at her face. Her eyes were red. Her lips were pressed together as if she was biting back a scream. "Why?" I asked. She turned her face away. That was the moment something broke inside me. The man lifted me up. I kicked and cried, calling my mother's name until my throat burned. As he carried me away, I saw my mother fall to her knees. She covered her face and rocked back and forth like a woman who had just buried her soul. But I did not know that then. All I knew was that my mother had chosen money over me. The road out of the village was long and dusty. The man placed me on the back of a motorcycle. I cried until my eyes swelled shut. I kept hoping the sound of running feet would come from behind us. I hoped my mother would chase after me, shouting that she had made a mistake. She never came. That night, I slept in a strange house with cement walls and no familiar smells. I curled up on a mat and hugged my knees to my chest. Every sound scared me. Every shadow felt like danger. I whispered my mother's name into the darkness. She did not answer. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The man who bought me did not beat me, but he did not love me either. He treated me like something he had paid for, something he owned. I cooked, cleaned, and ran errands far beyond my age. When I cried, he told me to stop acting like a baby. Sometimes, at night, I dreamed of my mother. In my dreams, she ran toward me with open arms. I would wake up smiling, only to remember the truth. The village children I later met knew my story. "You are the girl your mother sold," they said. Some laughed. Some pitied me. None defended her. As I grew older, anger grew with me. It sat in my chest like a heavy stone. I promised myself that one day I would return to that village. I would stand in front of my mother and ask her why she destroyed my life. Years passed. I became a woman before I learned the truth. But on that first day, as a 7-year-old girl crying on a dusty road, I believed one thing with all my heart. My mother did not love me. And that belief followed me like a shadow, waiting for the day it would be shattered. I grew up learning how to survive without love. The house where the man took me was in a noisy town far from my village. Cars passed day and night. Neighbors did not greet one another. No one cared where you came from or what pain you carried. At first, I thought this would make things easier. I was wrong. The man's name was Uncle Beo. That was what he told me to call him, though he never treated me like family. His wife had died years before, and he had no children of his own. People often said he was kind for taking in a poor village child, but kindness was not what I felt. I woke up before dawn every day. I swept the compound until my arms ached. I washed clothes that were bigger than my small body. I cooked food I was not allowed to eat until everyone else was satisfied. When I made mistakes, Uncle Beo did not shout much. He only looked at me with disappointment, which somehow hurt more. You should be grateful, he often said. Your mother didn't want you. Those words became my punishment. At school, I was different. My clothes were always neat but old. I rarely spoke. When teachers asked about my parents, I lowered my head. Children can smell weakness the way dogs smell fear. They teased me. Is it true your mother sold you? Did she use the money to buy clothes? Maybe she was tired of you. I pretended not to hear them, but every word carved itself into my heart. Slowly, I stopped crying. I learned that tears only made people crueler. At night, when the house was quiet, I talked to my mother in my mind. I imagined what I would say if she were there. Why did you do it? Was I not enough? Did you ever miss me? Sometimes I hated her so much that my chest burned. Other times, I missed her so badly that I felt sick. Love and hatred fought inside me until I no longer knew which was stronger. Years passed like this. I grew taller. My voice changed. The little girl who cried on the dusty road disappeared. In her place stood a quiet, serious young woman with eyes that had seen too much. One evening, when I was 16, I overheard something that changed everything. Uncle Beo had a visitor. They sat outside, drinking and talking loudly. I was in the kitchen washing plates when I heard my name. That girl, the man said, you really saved her life. I froze. What do you mean? Uncle Beo asked. The man laughed. You know what I mean. If her mother had not agreed, that child would be in the ground by now. My hands began to shake. A plate slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor. The voices outside stopped. Uncle Beo rushed in. What are you doing? Are you deaf? I stared at him. My heart was beating so fast I could hardly breathe. What did he mean? I asked. Mean what? He replied quickly. What did he mean when he said you saved my life? His face changed. For the first time since I had known him, Uncle Beo looked afraid. It's nothing, he said. Adult talk. But I did not let it go. That night, I could not sleep. The words repeated themselves over and over in my head. Saved her life. Why would my life need saving? The next day, I went to school but could not concentrate. Something deep inside me had been awakened. A door had opened just a little, and light was trying to come in. Weeks later, during a heavy rain, I found a small box hidden under Uncle Beo's bed while cleaning. Inside it was a folded wrapper and an old photograph. I recognized the wrapper immediately. It was my mother's. My hands trembled as I picked up the photograph. It showed my mother holding me as a baby, She was smiling, but her eyes looked worried even then. Tears filled my eyes. She had not thrown me away like rubbish. She had left a part of herself behind. That night, I confronted Uncle Bill. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Why did my mother give me to you?" He was silent for a long time. Then he sighed deeply. "Some stories," he said, "are heavier than money." I leaned forward. "I am not a child anymore." He looked at me, really looked at me, as if deciding whether I was strong enough. "She begged me to protect you," he finally said. "She cried until she fainted." My heart cracked. "Protect me from what?" I whispered. He did not answer. But I knew one thing then. My mother's silence was not empty. It was hiding something terrible. And I was going to return to the village to uncover it, even if the truth destroyed everything I believed. The decision to return to my village did not come suddenly. It grew inside me like a stubborn seed that refused to die. After that night, I could no longer see my life the same way. Every chore I did, every step I took, carried questions behind it. Uncle Bill became quieter around me. Sometimes I caught him watching me with worry, as if he feared the past would rise up and swallow us both. One evening, I told him my plan. "I'm going back," I said. He dropped the cup in his hand. Tea spilled across the floor, but he did not notice. "No," he said quickly. "There is nothing for you there." "There is my truth," I replied. He rubbed his face with both hands. "Some truths are not meant to be opened." "I have lived in pain for years," I said softly. "I deserve to know why." For a long time, he said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. "If you go," he warned, "do not expect peace." I left a week later. The road back to my village felt longer than the one that took me away as a child. My heart beat hard the closer we got. I wondered if my mother was still alive. I wondered if she would recognize me. I wondered if she even wanted to see me. When I arrived, the village looked smaller than I remembered. The houses were the same. The mango tree still stood near our old compound. People stared at me. Some whispered, "That's her. The one who was sold." My legs felt weak, but I kept walking. I found my mother sitting outside a small hut, pounding yam. Her hair was gray now. Her body looked thinner, bent by years of hardship. For a moment, I almost turned back. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. The pestle dropped from her hands. She stared at me as if she had seen a ghost. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Slowly, she stood up, her knees shaking. "Is it you?" she whispered. All the anger I carried rushed to the surface. "Yes," I said. "It's me. The child you sold." She cried out and fell to her knees. "No," she sobbed. "Please don't say it like that." Villagers gathered around us, watching like it was a play. "You took money and gave me away," I said loudly. "Why?" She crawled closer and tried to touch my feet. I stepped back. "I did it to save you," she cried. "I swear on my life." I laughed bitterly. "Save me from what?" "Poverty. Shame." She shook her head violently. "There was a man," she said. "A powerful man. He wanted you gone. He said you carried a curse because of how you were born." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "You were born on the night the chief's son died," she said. "They believed your spirit took his life. They said if you stayed, more deaths would follow." I felt dizzy. "They came for you," she continued, tears streaming down her face. "I hid you. I begged. I knelt. But they said you must disappear." She looked up at me, her eyes full of pain. "When Uncle Bill offered to take you far away, I agreed. I chose your life over my heart." The crowd murmured. I stood frozen. All my life, I thought she had traded me for money. But she had traded her happiness for my breath. My anger began to crumble, replaced by something heavier. Pain. Regret. Love I had buried too deep. My mother reached out again. I never stopped loving you, she said. Every night, I prayed you were alive. My knees gave way. And for the first time since I was 7 years old, I cried in my mother's arms. But the truth was not finished with me yet. Because the man who wanted me dead was still alive. And he knew I had returned. The night after I returned to my mother's hut, sleep refused to come. Every sound outside made my body tense. The wind brushing the leaves, footsteps passing in the distance, even the cry of an owl made my heart jump. My mother lay beside me on the mat, watching my face as if she feared I would disappear again. You should leave, she whispered. Before he hears. It's too late, I said. He already knows. She turned her face to the wall and wept silently. At dawn, the village woke to tension. People moved in small groups, whispering. Eyes followed me everywhere. Fear hung in the air like smoke. By midday, he arrived. Chief Danduro. Age had bent his back, but power still clung to him like a shadow. 2 young men walked behind him as guards. When he saw me, his step slowed. So, he said calmly, the child returns. My mother rushed forward and fell at his feet. Please, she begged. She is grown now. Let her live in peace. He looked down at her with disgust. You should have finished what you started. My blood ran cold. I stepped forward. Why did you want me dead? He studied my face, then smiled darkly. Because the gods demanded balance, he said. My son died the night you were born. Someone had to pay. That was not my fault, I said, my voice shaking. He laughed. Truth has never mattered here. Fear does. The villagers watched silently, too afraid to speak. I realized then that nothing had changed. Only my understanding had. You stole my childhood, I said. You turned my mother into a ghost. He waved his hand. Enough. Tonight, we will end this. That evening, the sky turned red. Drums began to beat in the distance. My mother held me tightly. I should have died instead of you, she whispered. No, I said. You saved me once. Now let me save us. I left the hut and walked toward the village square. The elders were gathered. The fire burned high. Chief Danduru stood in the center. I raised my voice. If the gods want payment, let them speak themselves. Gasps filled the air. I stepped into the circle of firelight. If I am truly a curse, let something happen now. Silence followed. Nothing happened. Minutes passed. The fire crackled. The sky stayed calm. Fear shifted in the crowd. Away from me. I pointed at the chief. Your son died of illness. Not because of me. You lied to control us. Murmurs grew louder. Chief Danduro's face hardened. Seize her. But no one moved. The oldest elder stepped forward. Enough blood has been shed by fear, he said. This ends tonight. The chief's power crumbled in that moment. My mother collapsed into my arms, sobbing. The village exhaled. But peace always comes with a price. Because as the fire died, I knew my life in this village was over. I had survived. But I could never belong here again. Only one chapter remained. The choice I had to make next. Morning came quietly, as if the village itself was tired of fear. The square where fire and shouting had filled the night before was empty. Ashes lay cold on the ground. People moved slowly, their heads bowed, ashamed of the silence they had kept for years. I sat outside my mother's hut, watching the sunrise. The sky was soft and pale, nothing like the red anger of the night before. My mother sat beside me, holding my hand the way she used to when I was very small. I thought I lost you forever, she said. You lost me, I replied gently. But you never stopped loving me. Tears filled her eyes. I carried the pain alone. The village turned its back on me. They called me heartless, but I accepted it because it kept you alive. I squeezed her hand. For the first time, I truly understood the weight she had carried. Later that day, Uncle Bill arrived. He looked older, too, but when he saw me alive and standing strong, relief washed over his face. You were right to come, he said quietly. Some chains only break when you face them. The elders met and stripped Chief Danduro of his title. His power ended not with violence, but with truth. Fear had ruled the village for too long, and now it had nowhere to hide. When the sun began to set, I knew it was time to choose. The village was my blood, but not my future. I want to go back to the town, I told my mother. There are girls like me there. Girls blamed, abandoned, misunderstood. Her lips trembled. Will you leave me again? I shook my head. No. I will return. But I must live my own life. She pulled me into her arms and held me tightly. This time, she did not let go in pain, but in blessing. When I left the village the next morning, people watched silently. Some waved. Some bowed their heads. I did not carry anger with me anymore. I carried truth. Years later, I built a small home for girls who had been cast away by fear and lies. I told them my story, not as a wound, but as proof. Proof that love can hide behind terrible choices. Proof that silence does not mean absence. Proof that a mother's heart can break itself to save her child. And every time I returned to the village, my mother waited for me at the edge of the road. Not as the woman who sold her child, but as the woman who saved my life. The end.